Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you some of the best college football news, predictions, and analysis. Make sure to like this video, go follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, and check out everything we have to offer over at thegridironexpert.com, where you can sign up for our weekly newsletter and also sign up for our expert picks. The links for all those things are in the description below, so do not miss out on any of this extra college football content. Well, guys, today, as always, we are here to break down the new AP Top 25 poll. And after a wild Week 9, where we saw 7 Top 25 teams go down, 4 of which came to unranked opponents, and 3 of those top 25 teams came from the top 10, we expected major shakeups coming into Week 10. And that's exactly what we got. None bigger, of course, than a new number 1 in town. Once again, we have a brand new number 1 team, and that title now goes to the LSU Tigers, who just this past week defeated number 9 Auburn, then number 9 Auburn, 23-20 in Death Valley. With that win over the Tigers, LSU now has 3 wins over top 10 teams. Of course, they're not all top 10 anymore, but when they beat them, they were ranked in the top 10. That, of course, being Texas, Florida, and now Auburn. So LSU very, very deserving of this number 1 spot. Absolutely looking like the best team in the country. I would say alongside, of course, Alabama and Ohio State. I think those are, without a doubt, your top 3 teams, and that's exactly why they're ranked as such. And so this is going to set up a potential number 1 versus number 2 showdown on November 9th, as LSU will travel to Bryant-Denny Stadium to take on Alabama. Now keep in mind, remember, we're in Week 10. Next Sunday, the Week 11 AP Top 25 poll will come out. We won't do a video on that, because the following Tuesday, November 5th, the first set of the college football playoff rankings will be released. And those are the rankings that matter the most. Those are the rankings that everyone will be basing things off of for the remainder of the season, leading up to Selection Sunday. So once those rankings come out on November 5th, we will have analysis on those rankings, and we will even give you our official top 25. So if we disagree with the committee, we're going to rank them the way that we think they should be ranked with the new college football playoff top 25. So this is the last week that the AP poll will truly matter towards the rankings. So there's a chance that maybe Alabama and LSU might not be number 1 and number 2 when they face off here in a few weeks, but I have a pretty good feeling that will be the case. So LSU, your new number 1 going in to Week 10. Of course, they do not play. Alabama does not play, sitting at number 2. Ohio State and Clemson remained unchanged at number 3 and number 4. Penn State and Florida each moving up 1 spot. And a lot of these shifts in the top 10, very, very helpful, because Oklahoma fell to Kansas State, and of course Notre Dame got annihilated by Michigan. So that was the number 5 team in the country and the number 8 team in the country. When both of those teams fall, people are going to move up. So Penn State at number 5 with an impressive win over Michigan State. Florida up 1 as well with a huge date coming up against Georgia. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Oregon, one of the biggest movers, biggest risers in Week 10, moving into Week 10, moving up 4 spots from number 11 to number 7 with that thrilling win over Washington State. Once again, another classic Pac-12 after dark game where the Ducks found themselves down by just 1 point with a minute left and ended up battling all the way back, driving down the field led by Justin Herbert, kicked a game-winning field goal to win 37-35. Georgia is up 2 spots from 10th to 8th, and Utah has cracked the top 10, moving up 3 spots from 12th to now number 9. So the Pac-12 now, guys, has 2 teams in the top 10. After the first couple weeks of the season, we didn't know if we were going to see a Pac-12 team in the college football playoff. Well, if Oregon or Utah wins out, and that of course would include a Pac-12 championship over probably one or the other, there's a chance that the Utes or the Ducks could slip into the college football playoff as a 1-loss Pac-12 champion. Now, do keep in mind that each of these teams have major trap games coming up in Week 10. Oregon traveling to USC, a team that's been very inconsistent, but a team that I could see upsetting the Ducks. And then Utah traveling to Washington. They're very similar to USC, sitting at 5-3, but a team that's been very inconsistent. Nearly beat Oregon, has had a couple quality wins this season. Jacob Eason and Chris Peterson, what do they have in their bag of tricks? Can they pull off the upset over the Utes? If both those teams were to lose this Saturday, Pac-12's done. If both those teams were to lose again at some point over the course of this season, the Pac-12 is done. So the Pac-12's only hopes rely in Oregon and Utah. Let's see how they fare this Saturday and for the remainder of this season. Now, of course, Oklahoma, we mentioned, is down 5 spots. They were 5th before they fell to Kansas State. Another top 10 team falling to an unranked opponent. The third straight week that has happened. So the Sooners were down 25, battled all the way back, ended up only losing 48-41, nearly recovering the onside kick. Touched it just a half yard early. Had they gotten that, who knows what could have happened. But Lincoln Riley and the Sooners dropped 5 spots to number 10. They're still in the college football playoff hunt. Remember last year, they did fall to Texas in the regular season. Ended up winning out, won the Big 12 championship game, got in as that number 4 seed. And sitting here at number 10 right now, not that bad. There's still a very good chance they could still slip in there if they can get some help from those above them. One thing that really caught my eye, though, that I thought was kind of interesting, we have Auburn right now sitting at number 11. And this is something that we have to keep in mind. It's something that I'm really interested to see how the committee ranks them on November 5th. Auburn's number 11 right now with 2 losses. One of them to now number 6 Florida, and the other one to the now number 1 team in the country in LSU. That's it. Auburn's only lost 2 games, and they're both to quality opponents. But they're both conference losses. So Auburn really is not going to make the SEC title game. Because LSU or Alabama, I don't see either of them losing 2 games this season. One of them's going to lose at least once. But after that, I don't see either of them losing twice. So Auburn, not in the SEC title hunt, but sitting at number 11 with games remaining against Georgia and Alabama. If the Tigers were to win both of those games, could you make a case for Auburn to get into the college football playoff with 2 quality losses, narrow losses, 11 points to Florida, 3 points to LSU, both on the road, I should add? Could you make a case for Auburn and maybe slip in there as a 2-loss SEC team with wins over Georgia and Alabama, even though they wouldn't even play in the SEC championship game? That really is going to depend on where the committee ranks them going in to what would be Week 11. But something to watch out for the Tigers there. They're out of the SEC title race, but maybe they have a slim chance of getting into the college football playoff. Now, of course, we have Baylor up here right now, sitting at number 12, the last undefeated Big 12 team, because Oklahoma just fell. Texas has fallen multiple times now. Twice, I should add, in conference play. Upset by TCU, lost to Oklahoma. They have lost to LSU. Texas is not back. They're out of the top 25. They dropped all the way out, actually. So Baylor, the last remaining undefeated team in the Big 12. They get to host Oklahoma, and they get to host Texas in consecutive weeks. If Baylor wins both of those, absolutely they're making the Big 12 championship, but you can start talking college football playoff. And even if Baylor only loses one of those games, more than likely I would say to Oklahoma than Texas, even though we know now both those teams are beatable. But say they only lost to Oklahoma, an 11-1 Baylor team would make the Big 12 championship game, and if they win that over a potential Oklahoma rematch or maybe Texas, if they can slip in there, but probably not, you have a very strong case for the Bears and Matt Rule to slip into the college football playoffs. So watch out for Baylor. They still got to get past West Virginia and TCU, a team that just beat Texas. But if they can get past both of them, the final weeks of November will be crucial and very, very interesting to see and to watch for Baylor Bears down in Waco. And then finally, one last thing I want to address before we address the rest of our normal analysis for these top 25 is Minnesota sitting at number 13. Guys, the Golden Gophers are 8-0 and have a bye week before on November 9th, which will be a huge, huge day for college football. But on November 9th, they have an undefeated showdown at home against now number 5 Penn State. Both teams will be coming off a bye week. That game has major Big Ten title implications and major college football playoff implications because Minnesota pulls off that upset. They're 9-0 and will definitely crack into the top 10. And if they make the Big Ten championship, which they probably would with a win over Penn State, if they somehow beat Ohio State, which I would assume would come out of the East. Golden Gophers and PJ Fleck could be in the college football playoff. A lot of contenders, guys, still at large here right now. I think you draw a line after Minnesota. So right there, you draw a line. The top 13 teams, I think, are still in contention for the college football playoff. Some definitely more so than others, but you can't count anything out, especially as we enter November, the craziest and most unpredictable week in all of college football. With the amount of big games we have on deck over the next few weeks, and after what we've seen so far this season, we know anything can happen, anything is possible. You cannot take any opponent or any game for granted, and once again, that's the beauty of college football and what makes it so great and so unpredictable for us, the fans and the analysts, to watch for the remainder of the season. So that's what we've got there. The biggest risers is, of course, we mentioned a couple teams sitting there with 4 spots moving up. We mentioned that was Oregon. Mentioned that was Minnesota. Michigan, though, was the biggest riser, moving up 5 spots, going from 19th to 14th with their win over Notre Dame. 45-14, the Big House just annihilated the Fighting Irish. Fighting Irish didn't show up for that game. I know the conditions were not ideal, pouring rain, but Michigan was able to play in it. Notre Dame was not. They're sitting at 14th right now. Jim Harbaugh got the monkey off his back just for a little bit when it came to his job security. How will they fare with the remainder of the season, having yet to face Michigan State or Ohio State? So watch out for the Wolverines. Not really in contention for anything except for a New Year's Six bowl berth. Biggest fallers, of course, would be Notre Dame, dropping from 8th to 16th. You know, they lost to Georgia early on in the season, but they gave them a good fight. I expected the same at the Big House this past Saturday, a big rivalry game coming off a bye week. I expected a better performance against the Wolverines. Notre Dame didn't give it to me. Lost 45-14, dropped 8 spots. They were a 2-loss team. Playoff hopes are dashed. They were still alive going into the Michigan game, but they are gone now. Best they can hope for is, like Michigan, maybe slipping into a New Year's Six bowl game, although that maybe is not going to be in the realm of possibility anymore. And then Wisconsin, of course, moving down 5 as well. They lost to Illinois just 2 weeks ago. Lost to Ohio State 38-7. We knew they were going to lose to Ohio State. Wisconsin fans, I'm sorry, but I wasn't giving them a fighting chance. I really don't think anybody else was giving them a fighting chance. At Columbus, at the Horseshoe, Ohio State was winning that game, and they did, 38-7. Wisconsin drops 5. They're sitting at 18th, and definitely really in bad trouble when it comes down to the Big Ten title race, because Minnesota, once again, controls their own destiny. They've yet to play Wisconsin, but with the Badgers sitting with 2 conference losses, Minnesota is certainly the heavy favorite in the West. Of course, you still have Iowa as well, sitting at 19th. They can maybe steal that spot in the Big Ten championship. A couple new teams as well. We have Kansas State, who slipped in there. Now they're ranked after that huge win over Oklahoma, and rightfully so. I said Chris Kleiman had inherited the best team out of all the new Big 12 coaches, and once again, he has proved me right, shown me that he did inherit a great team, and proved that he is a very worthy coach. He succeeded extremely well at North Dakota State in the FCS, is thriving at Kansas State. They're 5-2, number 22 in the country. Memphis slips in the top 25, now sitting at number 24, with a huge game on deck against now number 15 SMU. The ABC Saturday night game this weekend. So a huge game when it comes to who's going to win and get into that New Year's Six bowl berth from the group of 5. SMU's the top-ranked team right now, but you've got 2 other teams in the American in Cincinnati and Memphis that are vying for that spot as well. So that SMU-Memphis game Saturday night, huge when it comes to New Year's Six bowl berths. And then San Diego State cracking the top 25 for the first time this season, sitting at number 25, their lone loss coming to a solid Utah State team earlier this year. So a couple newcomers, a couple big risers, a couple big followers, but once again, keep an eye on those top 13 teams. Those are the ones you have to watch out for, because those are the ones that really, I think, have solid chances at maybe getting into the college football playoff. Breaking it down by conference, it is not the SEC that leads this week. It's actually a tie for first between the Big Ten with 6 representatives and not a power conference. But the group of 5, guys, the group of 5 has the tie for the most representatives in this top 25. And I get that really there's no group of 5 team. Maybe you can make a case for SMU, but come on, UCF couldn't do it. SMU probably can't do it either. No group of 5 team is going to make the college football playoff. But when you have that many group of 5 teams making the top 25, that's impressive. It's extremely impressive. SMU's the highest ranked, but then you've got Cincinnati. Then you've got Appalachian State, Boise State, Memphis, San Diego State. 6 group of 5 teams cracking this top 25, guys. Extremely impressive, tying for first in terms of representatives. SEC has 5, they're number 2. All 5 of those teams coming in the top 11. 4 in the top 10. Auburn right on the outside looking in at 11th. So extremely impressive for the SEC. You have the Big 12 with 3 representatives. And tied for 4th, the Pac-12 and the ACC each have 2. And then, of course, the independents being Notre Dame coming in with just 1. So very, very shocking when you're breaking it down conference by conference for teams in this Week 10 Top 25 poll. Huge ranked versus ranked matchups. Number 8, Georgia taking on number 6, Florida in Jacksonville. And number 15, SMU traveling to number 24, Memphis. Each of those has their own respective implications. Georgia, Florida, bigger SEC and college football playoff implications. SMU and Memphis, bigger American Athletic and New Year's Six bowl game berths implications as well. So neither of those do you want to miss. Major trap games, Oregon at USC, Utah at Washington. We're going to have analysis on all of these games coming your way tomorrow for our Week 10 predictions. I promise you do not want to miss it. But for now, our final analysis on the AP Top 25 poll starting next week is college football playoff until the end. And I can promise you're not going to want to miss it. Our analysis on the real rankings and our own top 25 that I promise you're not going to want to miss as well. So guys, thank you for watching us here on YouTube. Make sure to go follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Expert and go check out the official website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for the newsletter, sign up for the expert picks, and as always, thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.